Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today from the Department of Ag Trade Consumer Protection. They're still in studio with me. They never left. Michael and Michelle, welcome back to the show. And, thank you for coming out to visit me. I think we always used to come out to your offices, although you actually never let me in your office.
This is true.
Yeah, you just let me in the lobby.
The top secret documents are there.
Yeah, so I'm just saying. But no, we're glad to have you both here in studio. It's fun to get your perspectives on these topics. And today we're going to focus on imposters that are sort of spoofing government official law enforcement. And it's pretty interesting because it's hit way local in the Dane County area where we are. You're seeing a lot of different calls here that are coming in saying that their officers are government officials, and they're showing numbers and they're showing things that are legit numbers, but they're not. So, my gosh, where do we start, Michelle? What is going on?
Well, first, we did a recent press release in partnership with the Department of Administration that one of the local situations you were talking about is that the state capitol police dispatch phone number was being spoofed and consumers were being contacted and threatened that there were warrants out for their arrest and that they should pay money over the phone immediately in order to take care of the situation because otherwise they would be arrested. So that is one of the first ones, and local law enforcement was involved as well as federal law enforcement to investigate this situation. There were some red flags in the phone conversation, but those are hard to identify when you are concerned, threatened, scared of government contacting you, and your caller ID says, hey, this is legitimate, this really is the dispatch number, so I need to take this seriously. But one of the red flags is the payment method, and the other one is having to do so right now over the phone that we can talk about.
Michael, I laugh because you and I have laughed and talked about this and say that there are got to be things that tip you off. You said the red flags, but the high pressure piece. So now it's the spoofing of the number certainly is very, very concerning here. But if we're looking in depth into some of these calls and thinking back to the classics that I'm going to call it right now of high pressure, I want money, I want gift card things. These need to be the things that you need to step back, take a look at and say, yes, this is not right.
Well, you keyed on one of the common themes you'll see in all of these scams is trying to really key into that emotional response to get you to take a second and stop thinking rationally about what's happening, and you kind of react emotionally to what's being said, and you immediately start thinking about how do I fix it. And of course, the scam will offer you the opportunity and give you the answer on how to fix it. And so you don't take that step back and all these other things. And this is a unique one where now it's not just, oh, I'm going to be late, or maybe utility's going to get shut off, or maybe I'm going to be late on something. This is, they're threatening to come and take you to jail. And so maybe you have children or you're a caretaker, and all of a sudden now that starts coming into play as who's going to take care of all these things. Then you also conversely start thinking about, well, is it possible that I missed a letter or that something else happened? And so all of these things key on to that, again, emotional response, trying to get you not to take that step back and think about what's actually happening. And when it does happen, that's when it starts that solution. Well, here, we can fix it for you. And you become more inclined to start paying through these different, what I would call absurd methods that no government agency is going to ask you to pay by.
Yeah, and I would also, too, ask, do you find that people, I guess, why would they even pick up the phone anymore? I know I've said this to Michael in the past, but and I know you see the number. Like, I don't even trust any number at this point. Like, I'm about there, personally, but really.
I hate to say this, I have a landline. It doesn't have caller ID. So you pick up the phone when it rings. It's a response. It's something we've trained to do. You want to know who's on the other side of the call. Some people might be lonely, and be looking for that interaction with somebody as well. There could also be confusion with some older consumers who may be on medications. That could contribute to some of the confusions if things aren't just all in balance or correct, or you're waiting for that phone call too. I mean, you may have called a doctor and you're waiting for that return response. So there's lots of reasons why people are still picking up the phone. the important part of that is making sure that you give yourself permission to hang up. We don't have to be kind with a scammer. We don't have to be kind with someone selling you goods by the phone when you're on the do not call list. You can just disconnect the call. Say no thank you, hang up, or just disconnect the call.
And I just came to mind here that, they are phishing for you, right? In some way or fashion. They're doing a lot of things here, the buzzwords I but they're phishing and they're getting lucky because somebody has probably had some type of recent, if it's a jail thing, like maybe they just got a ticket, maybe they knew something, they're part of it. So their success is because of...
Well, I think they're successful for a couple reasons. The first is we talk about all these different scams and how you spoof all these other numbers, and there's a lot of numbers that you could most likely easily ignore. But when you see a law enforcement, regardless of where it's from, you're almost always going to want to answer that call because you're thinking, what went wrong? Who needs my help? And it doesn't matter if to be just local. It could be anywhere around the state because we all have family or friends that may be traveling. So you could think it's plausible that call's real. So you're more inclined to answer it. The second part is how do they exploit it is there's so much public information available now that you can just hop on and see who potentially may have had contact, where those records are saying. But as you mentioned, it also is plausible that somebody actually had contact with a law enforcement officer at some point. It could have been years ago.
Right.
But it makes sense of, all right, I got a speeding ticket 7 years ago. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it's coming back. So all those things make it more inclined for someone to actually answer that call.
One important note that we haven't covered, I don't think yet, is that it doesn't have to be you did something wrong with law enforcement. It could be jury duty.
Right.
Your call to service and that you missed that. And there are implications to just kind of ignoring that as well. So it could be that call to service type situation, and you're going to be responsive to that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So let's say you take this call. We've talked about reporting these things before, but how important is it still to submit reports to you guys on these things?
Very important. It's very important because it gives us an opportunity to have awareness of what's going on and help educate others so they understand that it's happening, but then also an opportunity to maybe backtrack if there's enough information for us to say, all right, who's behind it, and hopefully stop the activity.
Yeah, that's important here. I mean, stop, think. There used to be something you said, like
stop, think, and react or act. Yep.
We need that, like, what shirts, hats.
Put on the screen.
Put on the screen. It just popped up as we're doing it to each bullet point. Well, we'll work on that. Sorry, guys. All right. Well, if people do want to learn more and stay up with, because you do put out releases on these things, I'd mention off the top here. So people want to stay up to date on scams that are going on or things that are like, hey, you should probably be watching this. Where can they stay informed about these?
Yeah, you can go to our website at DATCP.wi.gov, and you can actually sign up to get our press releases. It'll be everything the agency does, but you would get those when they come out as well.
Yeah, I just got one. Not from you, though. All right. Well, thank you both for your time. Appreciate it. Love the insight, and I'll look forward to having you in here one more time. I'm not letting you go just yet.
Happy to be
great.
here. Thanks, Jeremy.
One's like, I'm good. The other one's like, let's go. All right. Well, check out the website, Department of Trade Consumer Protection, and stay informed on what's going on here with everything scam.